Hello, everyone. Welcome to a much anticipated episode. Oh, not anticipated, just an episode, a surprise episode of Reactionary Opinions. It's good to be back. It's strange to be back, but yeah, it's the 10th of June. It's Thursday, the 10th of June, and this stream is going to be something totally different to what I've ever done on this channel. It's just going to be me. My boy Dylan is now a big-time YouTuber and currently on the hit list of the libertarians. He's the most hated YouTuber amongst libertarians, apparently. He made a video with Scott Tunge. He's actually been on Reactionary Opinions. Great guy. Obviously, living up to his name. Did a show where he spoke about libertarianism being akin to feminism for men. And it was a very, very good show. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Definitely to be watched. Scott's a guy that just, really communicates amazingly. He's got an amazing style. He's very charismatic, and he talks very well, and he just understands these topics very well. He has a deep understanding of what it is to be a man and how to communicate in fellowship with other men as to how to encourage each other to be good men. Anyway, the title of the movie, or not the movie, the title, sorry guys, long day, tired, baby in the house, teething and all kinds of other stuff. But thank the Lord, she's sleeping and relatively peaceful. Anyway, the title of the stream this evening is "Take the White Pill and Continue Winning." We owe it to our children. And what I want to do is I want to just sort of talk to you guys about where I've been, what's been going on, and I just want to share a couple of things with you guys, because it hit me, or it's been hitting me quite hard lately with regards to what it really means to be a father, to be a man, to be a husband, and of course to be a follower of Christ. And and I've been mulling these ideas over in my mind over and over, and over this past, I think it's been probably 6 months or so. I think we were last on in December. I think over these last sort of 6 months, and I've just been focusing on my faith and where I need to be. I'm going to share something that I shared on Facebook today, and those of you that either follow me on Facebook or are friends of mine on Facebook would have seen it. And I just want to sort of tell you about, share what my story is. So, my whole life I've been a Christian. Obviously ups and downs and varying degrees of nominality and flip-flopping and all of those sort of things. But life changes you. Things that happen around you change you, and I've always been sort of a nominal Christian until about 4 years ago when I converted to Catholicism. It was a decision that was not easy to make. It was, I had to dissect a lot in order to totally sort of undress my idea of what faith was, or what my idea was at the time. And I had to really sort of challenge myself and the ideas that I believe to be the idea of faith. So anyway, I converted to Catholicism. I went through the rite of Christian initiation as for adults, the RCIA. I was baptized, I was confirmed, and I did my first Holy Communion. But throughout those 4 years and stuff as a Catholic, I was still very nominal. I was a lot better than the pew filling Catholics. The Catholics that rock up over Christmas, Easter, Ash Wednesday, that sort of thing. I went to mass every Sunday, and I did all of these things, but I never, it never quite clicked with me. It never quite made sense, and it's only as of recent, to be honest, the thoughts started coming up when my daughter was born, and I started, taking these things a lot more seriously, which I guess a lot of dads go through when they become first fathers. When they become fathers, they start asking a lot of difficult questions and taking things a lot more seriously, which is why we're gonna get to that in a little bit later, because that's got to do with us taking the white pill and owing it to our children. So anyway, those thoughts went through my mind, but I kept feeling like this pulling sensation, a sensation that I knew that I was going through the motions. I knew that what I was doing was good, but I didn't quite know that it was what God wanted me to do. I didn't know for a fact that I was in the right place, that I was in the place that God wanted me to be in. So I've got my whiskey over here. It's a good whiskey night, so if you're drinking some whiskey with me, go ahead. So anyway, I didn't know that I was in the place that God wanted me to be, but I felt like there was something that I had to do. So I needed to sort of pull my family closer to the church. My wife is a cradle Catholic. My daughter was recently baptized. My entire family is Catholic, but not. We weren't Catholics, which means we weren't community based, which means we weren't actively involved in our community, and that's a it's one thing going to church, but it's another thing fellowshipping with other fellow Christians and getting involved in your community, serving your community. The amount of joy that you can get out of serving your community is profound. But we weren't doing that. We had been going to mass every Sunday for the last 4 years, and we didn't know almost anyone at church. We knew a handful of people, and almost no one knew us. And that was, it was difficult for me to admit that I had been going to this church for so long, but no one knew me, and I didn't know anyone else. So anyway, I knew I had to do something. I knew that I had to get involved with the church and the community and stuff. So, but I kept feeling a pulling sensation. I didn't know what God wanted me to do. I didn't know where He wanted me to be, but I knew that He would lead the way. He would open doors for me. So anyway, early this year, a message came through on one of our WhatsApp groups at church and said, we're looking for people to volunteer to help out with the youth ministry. And immediately that clicked, and I was like, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to do. So anyway, I contacted the youth minister at our church. Said, I'd love to get involved in it. How do I go about doing it? Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I've only been doing this for probably 4 months now, more or less. And, or probably less, probably about 3 months. But anyway, I've been doing it for about 3 months, but the great joy that it has brought to fellowship with fellow Christians, with fellow people in my church, has brought me such profound joy and comfort. And the most amazing thing for me is that I have this profound feeling and the sensation that I'm exactly where God wants me to be, and that is it's an extremely gratifying thought. It's a thought that, you know, our sole objective as humans is to glorify God, and I'm pretty sure I'm doing that through my youth ministry. And anyway, so I want to talk about why, and this is basically what I've been doing for the last 6 months or so, is just getting more involved in my church. You know, since then I've joined my church band. I played the drums in the worship band, and things have just, you know, things are just getting so much better from a community perspective. You know, this channel has always been about community and always been about getting involved in your community. You know, and we would go on the internet and we would stream these shows and tell people all about community and communitarianism and all of this, but you know, we would never, yes, of course we had our friends and our neighbors and everyone that we considered our community, but I never actively, and this is a confession to my viewers and stuff, I I was hypocritical in the sense that I never really went out there and actually drilled into my community. I never got involved. I was generally an outsider. I never, you know, there was something in me that sort of kept me away from the community until recently. Like I told you, I had this intense pulling feeling that was wanting to pull me closer to my community, and this is how we go about starting these beautiful communities, and you know, fighting against degeneracy, you know, strengthening each other, strengthening our fellow man. Anyway, so I got involved in these in the church community and all of that, and that's a big part that has led me to immense white pilling. Hey Dad, how's it? I'm confessing to my pa now, telling him my story. But you know, everywhere you go, um, there's a there's a great song by a gospel musician that a lot of people don't really know about. His name's Luke Speher. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but anyway, Luke Speher, and he has a song called what's it called? I think it's called "Be Still." Yeah, it's called "Be Still," and basically it's about, you know, the world around us, and you know, we see noise and chaos and darkness and tough times ahead. You know, the thumbnail of this video says, let me just read it here. It says, "Worst times are behind us. Worst times lie ahead. Say no to cynicism. The world will go on." And that's something that you really realize. But anyway, the song, what it spoke about is the idea that sometimes we just need to be still and know that God is God and that He's in control, and that His will be done. And you know, it's great. It's great to do that sometimes. It's great to just be still and know that He is God. And yeah, it's very refreshing. Anyway, so you know, I've told you my story, and what I want to what I've been thinking about doing on this channel is I've been thinking about almost not necessarily rebranding the channel, but almost sort of refocusing the channel onto a different sort of theme. you know, I, I get it's easy to get hung up and caught up in politics and ideology and all of these sort of things. And I've been thinking a lot about ideology. I mean, I've spoken previously on the show about ideology and how ideology sort of separates you from human nature and who you really are. Someone made in the vision in the image of God, and you know, ideology tends to sort of separate you from God. Um, and what I want to do is I want to sort of I want to start talking about family dynamics and faith in the family instead of ideology, because I believe that family dynamics and faith in the family is pretty much all you really need. And you know, the idea that the nation and the community as a whole and the neighborhood and everything stems directly or spawns directly from the family and and the family dynamic and the faith within that family. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm pretty sure that this is pretty much all you really need as a man and as a family man and as a married man and a husband and a father and all of that. That's really all you need is faith and family dynamics. And you know, we need to focus on happiness through Christ, not materialism. You know, happiness is a happiness is often very often fleeting, which means it can be here today, gone the next day. But it has to be the central focus of happiness has to be Christ. As a Christian, your life has to be your happiness has to be drawn first and foremost from Christ. I'm not saying, you know, you shouldn't like nice things or you shouldn't work hard. There's great joy and fulfillment that can be found in working and earning an honest living and you know, living a good life, a good hard working life. There's great joy that can be found in those things. What I'm saying is that materialism should never take precedent over faith and over family and of course over Christ. So you know, this shouldn't take precedence over the most important things. So Christ, obviously, first and foremost, family, and then obviously community. Materialism should never take precedence over any of these things. And it's easy to say, yeah, well, you know, what do you want us to just, you know, live paupers' lives and that sort of thing? No, obviously, that's not what I'm saying. Work hard, earn an honest living, support your family, um, give them comfort and security in knowing that you are there for them and that you will work for them. In the Catholic Church, this month is the month of Saint Joseph, and Saint Joseph is the patron saint of workers. So there's been a lot of talk in church and in our various groups about the joy and the fulfillment that you can get out of work, and sort of learning from Saint Joseph's work and all that sort of thing, as he was a carpenter who taught Jesus his trade. So that's, you know, this is where I want the channel to go. I want it to move sort of away from ideology and more sort of into a faith-based understanding of the world, because it's, you know, I honestly, without a doubt, believe that all the answers are in here. All the answers are in the Bible, and you know, and faith, and you know, obviously uh, you know, it's good to read church fathers and you know, people that have taught on the church and ministered to the church and so on. But all the answers and stuff lie in our faith, in the Bible. The truths of the world are found in the Bible, not in an ideology, not in some Enlightenment writer who who thought that, you know, public urination was a good thing, you know. So obviously, Rousseau and all of these guys, you know, but that's besides the fact. That's all ideological nonsense. And I don't think that those guys really have the answers. I believe that all the answers can be found in our faith. And that's what I'm going to sort of try and view the world through a faith-based lens, and, you know, Bible and church teachings and so on, and how we go about building our lives and extending our lives outward to our community through these ideas. So, you know, obviously the idea that you as the father, so the family model obviously is Christ at the top, the father, and then the mother and the children. And, you know, obviously within the house, the father has dominion over the house, and controls the house and commands the house and makes sure that the house maintains and keeps its faith, and sort of guides the family and protects the family in faith. And then what happens is that is sort of that extends outwardly towards the community. So, like I'm doing, ministering to youth and teens and all of that, and then obviously that community extends to the broader society, and that's generally the way that it should be. You know, politics aside, sure, politics obviously needs to exist, but I'm talking about what us as men can do. I'm not seeking for us to be activists and that sort of thing. Not obviously activists. The idea of the word activist has been hijacked. You know, there is good activism, good Christian activism, in the sense of, you know, the evangelical idea of activism. That's great, and that's what we're going to be talking about as well in the show as well. But, you know, the idea that I don't want us to be ideological activists. I want us to nurture and teach our community and help us. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be telling you guys about lessons and stuff that I've learned through ministering to youth. And one thing that I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt is all those guys out there that are incredibly negative and blackpilled. So, you know, obviously the pill scenario is is alluding to the scene in the Matrix where I think it's Neo gets offered a pill option, a red pill or a blue pill. So obviously the blue pill keeps you asleep and you don't do anything. The red pill wakes you up and you can see the Matrix and so on. But then, you know, there's been additions to that, which is the black pill. So the black pill is sort of doom and gloom. Everything's ruined. We might as well die and screw this. Let's just all sit and be nihilists and cry about it. And then obviously the white pill is the, you know, the light, the joy, the happiness that that life can bring, and the idea that life goes on. You know, the idea that no matter how bad the situation is, life prevails, life goes on. Logos always prevails, and that's what the white pill is. You know, talking about these youth that I minister to, anyone that's ever done youth ministry and stuff, it's a fantastically rewarding thing. You know, kids are amazing. They really, really are phenomenal. They give you great joy. They challenge you. They put up walls, and then of course they show you things that you thought never existed. People nowadays are very, very quick to damn kids and say to them, your generation is doomed. You are always on social media. You're always on your phone. You disrespect your parents. You don't understand how the world works. You're a materialist and so on. But if you just take the time to just scratch a little bit of the surface off of these kids, you'll find out, I promise you, they will always surprise you. You scratch a little bit below the surface and you will find that these kids are brave, wholesome, they are faithful, and they are searching for a better world. They see the world around them. They understand the world around them. Here's the thing is, this world around them, this world that we live in today, that's the only world they know. I know different worlds. I grew up in different eras and political time frames. But these kids, this is their world. They know and they understand it. And a lot of them hate it. They don't like the world that they live in today. They see it, they understand it, and they see it for what it is. And they don't like it. So scratch a little bit below the surface. Take one layer off, and you already start to see what I'm saying coming through profoundly in these children. And this is the white pill aspect. There's so much beautiful hope in this world, guys. So much hope through these kids. This generation is a generation that I am convinced is going to shock us. Shock the pessimists in this world. And this is not, I mean, look, a few months ago, I probably would have said otherwise. I probably would have said, we're doomed. Well, not us. I'm not ready to fuss about my generation. We've had our day almost. But these youngsters, I would have thrown them out with the baby, thrown the baby out with bathwater, because I wouldn't give them the benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't have wanted to, because I didn't know and I didn't understand them. And what I found in my experience is I was so profoundly wrong as well. So wrong. And it's reassuring that there's hope out there. Now, this hope, a lot of people would say, oh yeah, but you're only clinging on for hope, and you'll find hope anywhere. Sure, okay. So what am I supposed to find? Negativity instead of hope and positivity? There are aspects of realism. You have to be realistic, and I'm always a skeptic, and I'm always realistic in my mind. But it doesn't help that we harp on and just sort of focus on the negatives. There's plenty of positives out there in the world. So why do we have to just keep on living? Why do we have to keep this positive? Us as oaks who are now in this generation, living now with these children who are growing up in this generation, why do we have to sort of preach to our children and raise our children to know and understand that there's going to be a next generation after them? Well, obviously we owe it to them. We owe it to them because they have to understand that, the obvious thing of, everyone comes from a generation, you passed down, you were born, you were raised. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our mothers and our fathers. And the fact remains that no matter how bad times are, life has to go on. It has to. Think about those people who were born during World War II. I mean, I know my dad was born just post World War II, and imagine giving birth in a world that was totally wrecked, utterly. I mean, in more ways than one. I'm not talking about politically wrecked, where there's communism and socialism and stuff. I'm talking about literally wrecked. The world in pieces. Imagine giving birth in or bringing a child into the world in those times. Would have been horrendous. But guess what? It didn't stop them. Didn't stop them. Didn't stop the men of those times persevering and carrying on. But you know what? Talking about men. Men. I'm not a particularly masculine man. I'm not a fighter. I don't go and box with oaks in the gym, and I don't lift massively heavy weights or anything like that. But I understand the importance of being a man. I understand the essence of being a man, what brings about manliness. And I know and understand that very well. And there's quite a few things, quite a few elements to the essence of manliness or manlyhood or whatever you want to call it. Or manhood, sorry, manlyhood's not even a word. But manhood. Part of those, I think, I've come down to the understanding, and this is mostly the reason why men are physically stronger than women. It's not only a mental or a hormonal thing or whatever it is. Men are physically stronger than women because men crave physicality. They crave the idea that physicality brings about some form of enjoyment, some form of what it means or what the essence of being a man is. And that physicality, I think, comes from a man's desire for adventure. And I do think that adventure is the driving force behind manhood and manliness. And men today, they've become so weak, not necessarily physically. I know men that are physically incredibly strong, can lift weights, but are just weak, just want to give up and sit in the corner and cry about how terrible the world is. And that's just not manly. So they become so weak, so they become despondent. So and again, it's like, whatever happened to our sense of adventure, the sort of carnal craving to conquer the world and take over the world? Again, it's tied in with physicality, not only the thought of adventure. It's a craving for a physical, build your own world, machine stuff, chop down trees, plant crops, go out there and hunt, and a physical adventure, not just a mental idea of adventure, but the physical pursuit of adventure. I'm going to get outside my house, walk, and go and hike, or climb the mountain, or whatever it is. Go camping, build a tent, build a fire, go hunting. You know, those sort of things are primal, and they call, and they beckon to a man's ethos and his heart. And there's no getting away from it. You know, I heard a very interesting idea the other day that, you know, it involves video games. You know, like, you know, I don't mind video games. You know, admittedly, I play video games occasionally, very occasionally, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a year, maybe that much. It was probably more before the baby came, but you know, time spent now, time and stuff is incredibly precious. Family time is obviously the most important. But anyway, so it's got to do with video games, and you know, the idea is that the reason video games are so popular today is because men, and it's still a majority of men that are gamers. Now, you know, I actually looked up these stats, and I just want to share this with you guys quickly. Where is it? Here we go. Now, this is both disturbing and both interesting, and I'm going to share this with you. Yeah. Where is this now? There we go. So, distribution of video gamers in the United States from 2006 to 2020 by genders. Okay. Now, the bottom part is male, and the top half is female. So, look, in 2006, it was male was 62%, female 38%, and it kind of hovers between that and goes up and down. But it's sort of, if you were to average it out, it's sort of 40%, 40% female, and sort of 60% male gamers. So a majority male gamers, without a doubt. So the reason why gamers, or men in particular, the reason why there's a majority of men playing video games, and this is just a theory, it's not proven or anything, but it's just a thought that I had, is or not that I had, sorry, you know, I heard it, someone else talking about it, and I thought it was quite interesting. The reason is that is strictly because of escapism. So the idea that they can sort of have an adventure, and they can sort of run away into this video game and have this amazing adventure, and you know, without the fear, without the danger, without the physicality, but they can get this sort of dopamine adventure hit in their brains. And a lot of men these days use that as a substitute. That's why video games are so incredibly popular. That's why a video game release these days is more popular than a video, or no, sorry, like a sort of an A grade movie that gets released. Video games are incredibly popular. It's a massive industry, and I think that's a good theory. The idea that men are sort of constantly looking for adventure, you know, without the actual danger. So, but what does it give them? It gives them sort of a false sense of adventure. It's not a real adventure. It's just a sense of adventure. The dopamine adventure, not the actual adventure, just the sort of dopamine hit. And I think that's what a lot of men crave, is the enjoyment of adventure, but it doesn't give you the full body effect, you know. So it's basically the adrenaline and stuff without the physicality of it. So I mean, another example is, what they're trying to do now is they're trying to combine video games with physicality as well. So the adventure and almost some sort of physicality. That's why you have all these VR machines and these AI synthesizers and all of these sort of things. Why do you think those exist? Well, they're for adventure. It's because men crave the adventure. They want to sort of synchronize the false sense of adventure, the sort of visual stimulation, with a physical aspect as well. And they're not going to be able to do that because it's just not going to give men the real thing that they need. So yeah, a big part of the white pill is adventure, raw, physical adventure. The idea that the physicality brings you far more joy than anything can bring you. And I think that's severely lacking amongst men today. Oh, there we go, Mr. Patriarch. How's it going there, brother? Yeah, this is a spontaneous little stream. Dagbreker. How's it going, man? It's good to have people on here. Oh, yeah. Dagbreker says, how's it? Can I also add an affordable adventure? Lol. Yeah, that's, but you say this, but by adventure, I'm not meaning like you're going to have to like build your own ship and sail across the Indian Ocean to, conquer the world kind of thing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, the idea of going out there, building something, do something, make something, there's great enjoyment in that. That's all, and knowing how to do all of that. Yeah, that's my idea on adventure. It used to be a great spirit. It really did. It used to be a great spirit. It used to be the idea that we were fearless. We were fearless because we had Christ with us. We were fearless because we were commanded to, spread the word. We were commanded to evangelize. We were commanded to conquer. We were commanded to do all of these things fearlessly. There's that verse in the Bible. I was actually reading it before the stream, Luke 22. Just after Jesus has had the Last Supper, and where he says to his disciples, the disciples are basically saying we'll have your back, Jesus, we'll have your back. But Jesus tells them that they'll deny him. They'll capitulate to fear. And I just want to read Luke 22 verse 35, and he said unto them, when I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye anything? And they said, nothing. Then he said unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it, and likewise his scrip, and he hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. Don't be. It's basically the idea of being fearless, of facing your fears. For I say unto you that this is written, must ye that is written must ye yet accomplish in me. And he has reckoned among the transgressors, for the things concerning me have an end. And they said, Lord, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said unto them, it is enough. Don't be scared, don't be fearless, or don't be fearful, don't be caught up in fear. There really is nothing to fear. Anyway, so back to the kids. When you've got kids, or a child in my case, I'll be glad to tell you guys that I am being a good Catholic, and we are trying for our next child. So we are evangelizing through childbirth. um, but yeah, when you become a father, um, a lot of concerns, a lot of things that you never thought about come to your mind. And one of the things is what would my child what will my child think of me when I'm older? What will your children? What will your legacy be? What will your children say about you at your funeral? I know this is kind of bizarre to think about it, but these thoughts go through your mind, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Patriarch would agree with me that these sort of you'll sit with your baby in your arms and you'll kind of look at the baby and you'll see this amazing creation, and those thoughts go through your mind. What will my child think of me when I'm older? What will my child think of me when they start thinking the stuff that I'm thinking? And those are things that you need to make sure that your child will respect you as an adult, as a man, and the things that you have done. Sure, we're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes all the time. You need to make sure that your child will look at you respectfully and think that their father did the right thing. And it sounds like a stupid thing to think that, but it's factual. Mr. Patriarch, okay, chatting with Dagbreker, just good. Spent an ass long time trying to communicate with YouTube and fix an issue with Google AdSense so I can get paid. D-Dog, yeah, Dylan, for those of you that, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone that's on our channel is a subscriber to Mr. Patriarch. Now, Dylan is basically a big YouTube fan, or star now, a guy that's got a monetized channel and doing making massive inroads at triggering the libertarians and getting them all worked up. Like I said in the beginning of the stream, there was that video that he did with Scott Tungay, which was absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen it, you really need to go and check it out. It's absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, so he's doing really, really well. Go and check out his content, guys. I mean, here's the thing: is Dylan is a extremely high IQ guy. He also makes the best tikka chops. I'm not sure if he makes them or if his wife makes them. But yeah, his YouTube channel is phenomenal. Dylan's a extremely high IQ lad. And it's kind of what attracted us to Dylan from the beginning, because a wealth of knowledge and stuff. But so Dylan says it's not a stupid thing. So it's obviously alluding to what I said about the children and what you think children should think about you. So he says there are few things that would hurt me as much as my son growing up to hate me. Yeah, that's yeah, that's the crux of it. When everything you do, obviously I'm not a helicopter parent. I don't, I let my child play in the dirt and, she falls all the time. And, I'm not a helicopter parent, but I do want my child to respect me, and I do want my child to love me when I'm older. And, the only way that I can do that is by loving her, teaching her all the good things in life, teaching her that I am a man and this is what's to be expected from men in the world. And then obviously my wife will teach her that she is a woman and this is what is expected of women in the world. And that is how a family should work. The idea that the father has the man's role and the wife has the wife's role. And these roles are, I don't know how some people just don't get this. I always say this. I say that, God's laws are not a guessing game. They're quite clear. There's no nuance in these rules and in the roles that men need to play and that women need to play. The idea that that man can do certain things that women do, and yeah, sure, I get that, but not in an egalitarian way, not in the idea that men are equal to women and women are equal to men, not in their roles. When I say roles, I mean specifically how they raise children, their roles in a family, and their roles in a community. I don't care that I'm a better cook than my wife. That's got nothing to do with my role as a man. But that's there's specific roles that men and women have to have, and it's not a guessing game. Dylan says, "Dude, I totally make them." Yeah, no, I and I'm impressed. I'm impressed by that because Dylan is American, and I'm assuming that the that when he came to South Africa was the first time that he had tikka chops. I'm assuming that. Pretty confident. But anyway, yeah. So Dylan makes the best tikka chops. So we're going to be buying in the next couple of weeks at my house. It's going to be great. That's another thing that men can do. Men, and this is another thing that we do as a group of mates, is we fellowship. We meet together. It's nice to have family get-togethers where the wife and the children and the husbands and all of that get together, and the husbands sort of stand around the braai and talk cuck and have a beer and all of that, and the wives they sit in the house and play with the children and make salads and that sort of thing. But it's just as important for guys to have men's braais, men's get-togethers, men's fellowships. Something that I've got involved with in my church is the men's meetings. They have them one Saturday a month, where all the men of the church get together and talk about men's stuff. And that's important. It's important for men to fellowship and minister to other men. It's how we build each other up. It's how we strengthen each other in our lives as men. I'm telling you, the life as a father and a husband it's not easy. You're constantly questioning yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Is what I'm doing God's will? Am I where God wants me to be? All of these things that you question yourself. But what fellowship with men does is it builds you up. It gives you, the other men are there to support you and say to you, look, bro, you've got this. You can do this. We'll make this work. And then you help those men overcome those situations as men. That's so important, and it's really, really something that that guys need to do. Yeah. So, there's a caveat over here. So Dylan says, but the tikka was Lauren's idea. Oh, okay, I see. So Lauren's the tikka lady, I guess. So, Mr. Dagbreker, you're in Joburg, up north, good old Joburg. Hey, sorry to hear that, man. Let's come down here to the land of milk and honey here in the Western Cape. You can come and braai with us. I have an open door policy. I always love to meet new people. So if you're ever in Cape Town, you're more than welcome. Come and visit us. So Dagbreker says, after I've reprimanded my children for a transgression, I jokingly sign off with them. If you don't run off screaming, I hate you, then my job here is complete and I can beam up to space. Yeah, that's a job well done as a father. This is the thing is, you're going to get, I think you're going to get those moments where children shout, I hate you. And then you're like, you should be, okay, You know, that's what my dad used to do. You know, like whatever, and that's it. Yeah, you know. So it's we can't be helicopter parents, and you know, kids need to have the opportunity to be kids. And something that I'm also going to talk about is I want to delve deeper into raising kids outside of materialism. I want to do a stream about that because it's something that my wife and I really want to be, because it's you know what, it's in the world that we live in today, it's so easy for kids to get caught up in materialism, toys and all kinds of nonsense, you know. um my a family of ours in Peru, I recently saw a video of their kids playing in their living room, and my house is separate. So this is my area. This Bri area is my area. It's exclusively my area. And the rest of the house, the rest of the inside of the house is my wife's area. And that's her domain. I don't, it's not something I worry too much about. And then we have a section for my daughter to play. And there's very rarely toys anywhere else in the house except for in this designated area. And a lot of people say, oh, but that's a little bit pedantic. That's like, are you trying to be authoritarian and blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yes, this is my house. And what I say goes in my house. And anyway, so I've separated areas. And the reason for that is I don't want my daughter to be drowning in toys in every corner that she comes across. She's got her room, and you know, her toys and stuff are in her room. It's not like I'm depriving my daughter of toys and all of that, and I don't buy her stuff and all of that. Yes, I do. I'm a father. I love nothing more than to spoil my children, but I try not to. And I think that's important as a parent, and important to understanding that you have to train yourself mentally and your children. Train them mentally to be prepared to not have any of those things. And I think that's important. Once you do that, once you train yourself to be without these things, without these nice things. And I'm not saying, look, I like nice things. I drive a BMW, for goodness sake. I like nice things. Okay, I do. I'm not saying that you need to live a pauper's life and all of these things, but you have to train yourself to be without them mentally. You know, that one of the greatest, and I tell people this as well, the greatest things that could ever happen to me was that I was poor, and I was poor. Um, um, yeah, Mr. Mr. Patriarch says his braai hut is nice. Yeah, it's pretty sweet, but you know, like I said, I like nice things. But anyway, I grew up not, I wouldn't say poor, not like squatter poor, you know, but I wasn't wealthy at all. My parents weren't wealthy, and throughout my 20s and stuff, I really struggled, and I still often struggle financially. But check, my dad says you enjoyed playing video games when you were little. Yes, Pa, when I was little. Oh, you're talking about games, like not video. I played video games, of course, but games. Be a little bit more specific, Dad. Like hide and seek, tok toki, that sort of thing. Yeah, we did that a lot. But anyway, I mean, you know, yes, like Dylan says, blue collar upbringing. Yeah, I was totally blue collar. But you know, I had my mother and my father; they were always there. And but one of the greatest things that I could tell people is that I was poor, or I have been poor in relative terms. And oh, there we go. Sorry, I'm going to get back to my point now. like camo. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So we used to. So my dad was in the Rhodesian Bush War, as you can tell by his Rhodesian flag in his profile over there. And he had all this KIF camo, like this really cool old school Rhodesian camo, which we totally destroyed and ripped the sleeves off. And I was very annoyed with that. But anyway, and we used to dress up in my dad's camo and go and play hide and seek. We used to call it camo. That's what my dad says, like camo, because my dad used to teach us where to hide and how to conceal ourselves and all of that. But it was great. We didn't have a lot. We didn't have an abundance of, amazing things and all of that. We had what we needed, and that was it. And we were happy. But I think what it did is it conditioned me to know and understand what it is like without all these material things. And that's why I'm getting back to my daughter. Is I want to be able to teach her that these material things are not everything. There's far more important things in life than the things that you have, the toys that you have, the clothes that you have, etc. The most important thing, obviously, is your faith and your love for Christ, and your family and your community, and all of these things. Those are the most important things. The things that I was taught. I promise you, tomorrow you take everything away from me. Yes, I'll be bummed because it'll be money lost, but I'll get over it. I'll get over it because I've been poor before, and I will get over it. So anyway, Dagbreker says, you have not lived if... Sorry, my eyes are... I'm a bit tired. You have not lived if all you can afford for supper is pap and wors. Yeah, you got it, brother. You got it. I'll tell you a story, Dagbreker. When I was in my 20s, so 21, I was waitering. I had come to Cape Town to study, and I fell on my ass and all of these sort of things. My folks were very, very hard. They knew that I could take tough love, so I was basically thrown out there into the wilderness to do my own thing. And I've always done my own thing. My dad will vouch for me on this comment section. But anyway, I was waitering, and I remember working a double shift at Spur. That, double shift is, it's from 7:30 in the morning until probably 11 at night. So it's a solid day's work. And I walked out of the Spur with, I think, 15 Rand. And I went to the shop and I bought a half a loaf of bread and I think I bought 5 Rand worth of electricity and a couple of loose cigarettes. And I remember getting to my my flat and sitting there, and I was so sad. I was so depressed. I was so angry. I just couldn't believe this happened. I just couldn't believe that I had worked so hard and have nothing to show for it. And I remember thinking, yeah, I have nothing now, but I still have tomorrow. I remember thinking, you know what, tomorrow is going to be better. And I know that's a pathological optimist view, but it just worked when I said to myself, you know what, yeah, tomorrow is just not going to be as cuck as today is. And guess what? Lo and behold, it wasn't as cuck. It got better. But there were a couple of cucker days in between there. A couple of days when I literally had no food, where I had to go and pick leaves off of a tree and boil those leaves in water and eat those. Yeah, those were cucker days. But guess what? I'm better for it now. There's always better days. That's the white pill, guys. There's always going to be a better day. And don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't ever let anyone lie to you and try to get you down, because that is essentially their way of them abdicating responsibility. It's their way of them saying, I don't want to take responsibility. Life's just cuck. I'm going to go with life being cuck. You understand? That's not really the way to go. So Dylan says, shame you could sell that camo for top dollar to American white nationalists these days. Yeah, all those roadie larpers in the States. As Oaks love that camo. Dylan said, I made weenies and rice tonight, American version. Cornerstone, protein and starch. Yeah. Sideline opinions. Welcome, brother. Good to have you here, man. It's been a while, huh? He says most children end up to have the values their parents lived and brought them up with. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Again, it's all about the parents and what the parents do. So it's so, as someone who's a relatively new father, well, I mean, not relatively, I am a brand new father, a year. I think my daughter turns in 7 days, she turns 15 months old. Okay. Is that right, Dylan? I think Nikki's also about 15. Nikki must be 15 months in a couple of days' time. But as someone who's a relatively new parent, that is something that becomes profoundly clear, even in just the year that our daughter's been in our home, is the idea that a child that's a year old is already starting to reflect the values that myself and my wife have, and that is profound. And you see that, like, you see it so clear as a father and as a new father. It's really, really, really something that hits you like a damp rag if you actually sit back and see your daughter doing stuff that is taught. It's quite something. Yeah, my dad says my Lone Ranger. Yeah, pretty much par. Dylan says, I remember in university, I went to McDonald's and checked my account afterwards. Towards the end of the semester, I had 63 cents left. Based. Yeah, you can't have lived unless you've had a 63-cent bank balance. 16 months. Is it 16 months? Yeah. So okay. So Isabella's going to be 16 months. Yes, you're right. 16 months in 7 days. Yes, it is 16 months because I know after 18 months, she goes off formula. So my wife breastfed until now we're trying to have another baby. So apparently breastfeeding messes with hormones and stuff, so it's more difficult. And so now my daughter's on formula, but mostly normal food and the odd bottle here and there. But yeah, that's daddy stuff. Sideline opinions. I have read that the parent's voice will become the child's inner voice. Wow, that's quite phenomenal. That comes back to, as Christians, we have this idea of a praying mother, and my mother is definitely a praying mother, and I'm grateful for it, and I thank the Lord for it. And that is, I think there's some correlation with that. Dagbreker. Sideline opinion says the first 6 years of a child's life is the most impressionable. Absolutely, you just see that. You see that so clear. Dylan will be able to relate to this. Like, it just, every day it becomes so clear. Like, for example, so my wife and I, we obviously we say grace together, and we say Isabella's prayers before she goes to bed, and then obviously we pray. Myself and my wife, we pray the rosary and stuff almost every day together. And obviously prayer is a big part in my family. And we're Catholic, so we'll do the sign of the cross before we pray. And we'll do the sign of the cross, and Isabella will, she can't quite do the sign of the cross, but she'll kind of motion at the sign of the cross. And it's, it's things like that that just make it so obvious that these children are a whole lot more special than we give them credit. And it's a deep, touching feeling as a father. Anyway, Mr. Patriarch said, Lauren's listening in the living room. She never tunes in for my stream. Sad face. How's it, Lauren? Glad that you're listening. I'm sure a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, Dylan's said already, so it's probably boring to you anyway. Casa, how's it? It says based. Thank you. Your children in many ways become an echo of yourself. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love that. Probably why I always say before I go off on a tangent, may my word for me. Absolutely, she does. Sideline Opinion says, this is interesting, says, most fathers think they will become friends with their children once they are teenagers. Too late, my man. No, I don't think I'd want to be necessarily friends with my child. I don't like that idea. Like, I don't like the, a lot of people say, like, look, I started very young, or very old, sorry, at a very late age having kids and stuff. But, I don't really like the idea of, there's varying aspects to being your friends with your children. So my dad always used to tell me, your mother is the best friend you'll ever have. But it was prefaced with, your mother is the best friend you'll ever have, not your mother is a friend of yours. It was always like, it was always an understanding. It was not like Barbara, which is my mother's name. Barbara is the best friend that you ever have. And a lot of parents like to have their kids call them by their first names, and it cringes me out when parents do that, and it really freaks me out. Just call me old-fashioned if you want to, but it just it freaks me out. But and I think that sort of modern version of parents being friends with their children is dangerous. I think it teaches children to take their focus off of the respect aspect. So it's okay if your mother is your best friend, in the sense that the reason why my dad said that, obviously, is that if I'm ever in trouble, I know that my mother would always be there for me. That's the obviously your parents should always be there for you, but they shouldn't be your sort of friend, as in, like Dylan's my friend, but he's not my parent. Even though I know that Dylan probably, be there to support me in difficult times as a sort of a brother figure. But yeah, I don't like the idea of children becoming their parents' friends. It just separates parent from friend, or just, I don't know. It takes away the parent role, is what I'm trying to get at. So Dylan says, fully agree, Scott. Parents are meant to be parents, not buddies. It's Lauren, by the way. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, absolutely. That's 100% true. Is parents are meant to be parents, and I don't understand why. Yes, parents can, take on a friend sort of role, but they don't have to be friends. They're your parents first and foremost. So Sideline Opinions says, bonding happens in the first 6 years, not when kids are older. That's what I meant. Yeah, absolutely. That's the point. Is there's that classic phase that kids go through. When up until like you're 6 years old, your mom and your dad are the greatest thing ever, and then I suppose probably up until 10 or 11, 12, 13 and stuff, your parents are still amazing and stuff. And then obviously when you hit sort of puberty and you become a teenager and you start to rebel, and your parents are kind of, still your parents, you still love them and all of that. But, a lot of the stuff that mom and dad says is cringe, guys, and it's just not cool and all this sort of thing and blah, blah, blah. And maybe they don't really know much. In your 20s, it's like, my parents know nothing. I'm the king of the world and I know everything. And then sort of after your 30s, this is what I found, is sort of after my sort of late 20s, early 30s. It'll probably be different for Dylan and Lauren because they're high IQ. I'm stupid, so it takes me a good couple of claps to come right. But after your 30s is when you kind of realize, hang on, all that stuff that I thought I knew was like trash and garbage and rubbish, and all the stuff that my parents were trying to tell me is fact and reality. Anyway, I think I've been going for long enough. I enjoyed this stream back on the show, and again, like I told you guys, I'm going to try and like I said, I'm not going to rebrand excuse me, I'm not going to rebrand the show. I'm just going to sort of redirect it, move it in a different sort of direction, and use my my journey in faith and my journey in the church and everything that I'm learning from ministering to youth and stuff and becoming a father and all of that, to encourage other men out there and other fathers and other young guys, because all the stuff that I'm, Jesus said there's nothing new under the sun, and everything that I'm going through, I know for a fact other men are going through, and other fathers are going through, and it's a lonely thought to be a man and be going through these things and not have anyone to talk to and not have anyone to listen to and to discuss these things with. And it's reassuring when other men build other men up. It truly is. And I've experienced this in my church community with other men, and there's nothing quite like it. And I'd like to form a community of good, God-fearing, Christ-loving men that just just want to win and want to create families and love their wives and love their children and love their community and raise strong, courageous, fearless men and children. And that's where I want this channel to go. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. We'll take it every day as it goes. Yeah, Pa says, glad you have come right. Thanks, Dad. I'm glad that you're glad. I'm glad that you're part of me. Sideline Opinion says parents have to spend time with kids doing kid things like kite flying, pond fishing, like good friends would do. Absolutely. I agree 100%. My daughter was a bit of a slow learner when it came to walking and stuff. She only started walking, gosh, probably about a month and a half ago. And but now she's like, you can't hold her down. She's so busy. She's all over the place. But the best thing as a father is being out in the yard with a ball and playing with it with a ball and playing in the sand and all of that. And don't take this the wrong way. This is going to sound weird, but to see my daughter fall is is, I don't know how I'm going to say this, but to see my daughter fall is witnessing a lesson, if that makes any sense. I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically when you see your daughter fall or your son fall and sort of get up and carry on and that sort of thing and push on is a lesson, a something that your child teaches you, and it's witnessing your child learning a lesson, and it is a phenomenal thing to see. But that's, you know, me looking deeply into a child falling, which is kind of bizarre. But I'm you know, I'm hoping that you guys will understand what I'm talking about. Hey, Scott, how's it? The other based Scott on the channel, Scott Tange, says, "Hey, Scott, arriving late. Glad you're back on the air. Keep crushing, brother. Appreciate it, brother. It's good to have you on the channel, have you on the stream. We should probably have a chat or a stream eventually once I've sort of figured out where this is all going and stuff. But I'd really enjoy having you on as a fellow man in Christ, a king crushing it out there. Sideline Opinions says, as a parent, you have to get down to your child's level to honestly communicate with him or her. Taking from a height goes over their heads, look them in the eyes and be honest and sincere. Absolutely. I don't really have an issue with that. I do feel like there has to be, when doing that, there has to be clearly defined hierarchies and stuff. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying, you know, the idea that your child should not feel sort of neglected or almost spoken down to and stuff. I totally agree with that. Lauren says she's holding a crying baby. Shame. Poor Nikki. Shame. Bella's fast asleep. She will probably wake up at about 10:30, 11 or so, and then she'll need to be put back to sleep. She's teething and all those, the big guns, the molars on the top and the bottom are coming out, and shame. Really bad pain for her. It's bad. Anyway, I think I'm going to cut it off there, guys. This has been a really encouraging stream. I like the feedback that I got in the comments section. I am going to be doing streams fairly often, yeah, keep crushing it out there, guys. I know that not all of my listeners are Christian and stuff, but this channel is going to be. Oh, Dylan is holding a crying baby. Oh, okay. Shame. Good dad. Good dad. I know that not everyone on the show or everyone on my channel, or everyone that listens to my streams and stuff is Christian, but you know, I hope that you can take from this stuff that you'd agree with and all of that. But you know, I've never made any qualms about this channel being explicitly Christian and stuff. So, you know, live with it, or there's the door. I'm a based Christian man, and there's no getting away with that, guys. I'm here to preach Christ's word, not any other word. So Dylan says, keep crushing. I like the stream a lot. Positive, truthful crushing. I'm a Chad dad. Absolutely. I can't tell if this is like Dylan and Lauren talking simultaneously, and Dylan is like on two separate devices logged on in Mr. Patriarch's account as well. I don't know, something like that. Thanks, Sideline Opinions. Good to have you back, brother. Good to see you back. Yeah. Anyway, don't do baby talk. Just settle with basic elementary talk. Got it, brother. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, guys. As always, stay reactionary out there. When I say stay reactionary, I mean stay focused on Christ, stay focused on the good word, and kill it out there, guys. Love, hug, look after your family, love your wife, love your wife. It's something I struggle with very often, but I'm going to try my best to do it. And that's all we can really do. Huh? Thanks so much for listening, guys. God bless. And stay reactionary out there because God wills it.